What's going on, Jaguar fans, and welcome back. Now, I was going to take today to kind of recap the Titans-Jaguars debacle that went on Thursday night, but I think we all know that, to sum it up, the Jaguars suck, and the current state of the team just sucks. So, I'm not going to do that, and in this video, I want to kind of go over the coaches and the front office guys that are currently on the hot seat, but you know, another reason why I didn't really want to review the Jaguars-Titans game is a lot of people have been kind of getting on me for being too negative, for complaining too much, and being too whiny. So, to appeal to those fans, I will go ahead and give out 3 gold stars for their performances from the Titans-Jaguars game. Now, my first gold star will go to D.D. Westbrook. D.D. Westbrook had 7 receptions for 88 yards and 1 touchdown. He is one of the few bright spots really on the Jaguars offense, and I really think that if the Jaguars can potentially bring in a wide receiver number 1, that he would be a really, really good wide receiver 2 to really fit in the slot. You know, I think he could, if you go back, you know, Allen Hurns got 1,000 receiving yards in 2015, but I don't think he gets that if it wasn't for Allen Robinson on the other side. You know, I think he could be a really good, like, Will Fuller to a DeAndre Hopkins, or potentially a Calvin Ridley to a Julio Jones. So I do like D.D. Westbrook. So D.D., go ahead and grab your gold star and smiley face sticker and go to the locker room. Now, my next gold star will go to Cody Kessler. Now, Cody Kessler this game was 25 for 43. 58% completion percentage. He had 240 yards throwing, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. And, you know, Cody Kessler, when he had, it's not all that impressive stats, but the offensive line was terrible, and when he had some decent time to throw, he did make some good throws. He was throwing good ball well to guys like Moncrief, guys like D.D. Westbrook. He had one little mess up on a touchdown throw to Bohannon. But yeah, I mean, Cody Kessler did what he could with what he was given. And my last one goes to Logan Cook, our punter. Logan Cook started the season off a little bit sketchy, but he's been doing better a lot as the season was kind of folded down to the end. He had one punt that, you know, forced a safety on the Titans and, you know, gave us 2 points, so that was really nice. So all 3 of those guys get their gold star and their smiley face sticker and then go to the locker room. Now, everybody else, you know, you guys can head back to the locker room too. Before you head back to the locker room, be sure to go to the cooler and grab your Capri Suns and your pack of oranges. Everybody thanks Garrett's mom for bringing that in. And yeah, guys, good game, good game. All right, now we're going to move on to the real meat part of the video, and that is going to talk about the Jaguars coaching staff and front office that is on the hot seat. Now, before I get into this, the only guy that I really actually feel is safe is our executive of football operations, Tom Coughlin. I think Tom Coughlin is really the only guy that's safe. I think him and Shad Khan are going to have a meeting and decide what they want to do with everybody else around, between the GM, head coaches, all the coordinators, all that stuff. So I just wanted to say that before I get into this video. I will not be reviewing Tom Coughlin, but I will be reviewing everybody else. Now, we have already made one coaching change to the staff, and that was firing Nate Hackett. Now, with the firing of Nate Hackett, I thought Nate Hackett was one of the least of our problems, honestly. I mean, I thought there were so many different things going on with the team. Of course, a few times he called bad games. You know, more specifically, probably the Eagles game wasn't a very good game called. The Steelers game wasn't all that well, especially in the fourth quarter. But, you know, if you look at him, Nate Hackett has been crippled by really just playing with a second-string offense. You know, you look at our offense, you had bad quarterback play all year. You look at the offensive line, you know, the strength of your offensive line was going to be left tackle Cam Robinson, left guard Andrew Norwell, center Brandon Linder. All those guys were on the IR. You know, at the beginning of the year, we were working the New York Giants offensive line in our week 1 game. And then now 40% of that offensive line from that day is now starting for the Jaguars. So that's the state of our offensive line. Our tight ends have been banged up. You know, we lost our feature tight end with Safarian Jenkins. You know, Niles Paul got injured. O'Shaughnessy's been a little bit banged up. That has been good. We lost Marquise Lee early on in the year with an ACL tear. Just the wide receivers have been inconsistent. And you look at the running backs, you know, our best player on the offense, Leonard Fournette, has been out for most of the year with injury and suspension, and it's just it hasn't been good. And he was kind of dealt a rough hand. He took over the offensive coordinator spot in 2016 after Greg Olson was fired, and in 2017 he had a decent year with kind of subpar talent. He led the team with number 1 in rushing. He was able to really manage quarterback Blake Bortles and push us all the way to the AFC Championship game. So now Nate Hackett, I do think that we needed a new offensive coordinator at the end of the year, but he just happened to be fired, so that was that. Now, next up, I want to talk about Todd Wash. Now, I definitely think Todd Wash is gone. I think there's going to be a whole entire shakeup with all the coordinators. And I think Todd Wash, if you look at Todd Wash, there have been, last year our defense was great. We had probably arguably the best defense. We definitely had a top 3 defense. We were getting turnovers, sacks, all that stuff, and it was great. And this year we essentially had the same exact personnel. The only guys that left were Paul Posluszny, who was only on the field for about a third of the plays, and you also had Aaron Colvin leave. And, we replaced Aaron Colvin with DJ Hayden, and DJ Hayden hasn't been bad. And if you look at the overall defense, they haven't been performing nearly as well as last year. Now, people are going to throw at me in the comment section, oh, we're top 5 in this, we're top 10 in that. I don't care, dude. I'm looking at the eye test, and the eye test shows me that this defense just isn't as good as it was in years past. We're not as explosive. We're not creating as many big plays. We are, allowing a lot of third down conversions. I mean, last game was terrible. It's bad. And I think Todd Wash has to go. So, that's one guy that I would definitely get out of here. I mean, if you look at different guys, there's been guys throughout the years calling out this guy's scheme. Ramsey has called out his scheme. Tashawn Gibson has called out his scheme. Just last Sunday, this last Thursday, I should say, one of the worst defensive performances I've seen the Jaguars have in quite some time. Right after the Jaguars shut out the Colts, you had AJ Boye have a quote at the game says, "It just seems like everyone is attacking our scheme or knows how to attack our scheme." If that isn't an indirect shot at Todd Wash, I don't know what is. And Todd Wash has been with the team since 2013, since Gus Bradley got here. He got promoted from defensive line coach, and I believe the year 2015. No, 2016. I don't know. One of those years after we fired Todd Babich. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. Todd Wash, he needs to go. Now, next up is Doug Marrone. Now, all year, throughout the whole losing streak, I've stuck up for Doug Marrone. I said, look, this guy led us to an AFC Championship game last season. He took a bad team and did really well with them. You know what I'm saying? AFC Championship game, that's the farthest we've ever been in our franchise's history. But this last game really, really disturbed me. First of all, after the last game, he dropped to a record of 15-16 as a head coach, so he's now officially a losing coach as the Jaguars head coach. And the thing was, man, I'm not going to say players quit on Doug Marrone, but because I think it's a strong word, but at the same time, man, when I look at it, I don't think everybody was giving 100%. And when you can't inspire a team to give 100%, if you have guys playing at 80%, 85%, I mean, it didn't look like anybody wanted to try to tackle Derrick Henry. I think that's a major cause for concern. And we've also had a lot of just dumb personal foul penalties all year. I mean, for God's sake, Leonard Fournette punched a guy earlier this year. He put his helmet on, ran on the field, and punched a guy. We've had all kinds of just stupid personal foul penalties. It looks like he's just losing control of the locker room, and it's tough. And once I see that happen, it's hard for me to really stick up for a guy. And Doug Marrone, man, I could go either way on this, but really, how good of a head coach is Doug Marrone? I don't know. When you look at when the Jaguars went 10-6, we beat Ben Roethlisberger. That's a good win against a good quarterback. We beat Phillip Rivers. That's a good win against a good quarterback. But we played Jacoby Brissett twice. We had a win against Tom Savage, a win against T.J. Yates, a win against Deshaun Kaiser. So you look at it, and there are some easy wins in there, and just taking advantage of some bad quarterbacks. So it's tough with Doug Marrone. I don't know how I would feel about Doug Marrone. I wouldn't mind firing him, but the thing is, I don't know how attractive, if we were to fire Doug Marrone, how attractive of a head coaching job the Jaguars would have. First of all, we don't have an answer at quarterback right now. We're gonna have to go to the draft or potentially free agency. I would prefer first round of the draft, but we might have to sign an average quarterback like a Joe Flacco or Tyrod Taylor to bridge the gap, but that's a conversation for another time. But how attractive is the head coaching job when you don't really have much a quarterback and you have to report to Tom Coughlin? When you're a head coach, if you're a head coach, you're gonna automatically have a high ego. You're probably going to think you're smarter than everybody in the room, and all of a sudden you have to come in and you're not the big dog. All of a sudden you have to report to Tom Coughlin, who's Mr. Stickler. And is that really all that attractive to say, okay, you're going to come over here? You don't have full control of the team because you have Tom Coughlin, a stickler, above you, and he's going to be in your ear all the time. I don't know how involved Tom Coughlin is when it comes to him and Doug Marone's communication, or if he's involved at all in the game plan. Nobody really knows that. So it's just tough, when you don't have a quarterback and you have to report to Tom Coughlin. I don't know how attractive this head coaching job is. So I'm going to just say that. Now, next up, we have Dave Caldwell, our general manager. He's been our general manager since 2013. And it's easy to evaluate Dave Caldwell between the years of 2013 to 2016 with what he's done. But in 2017, we brought in Executive Vice President Tom Coughlin. It's hard to really pinpoint in the years of 2017 to 2018 what was a Dave Caldwell decision and what was a Tom Coughlin decision. It's just been blurry. Now, when it comes to general managers, usually there's two different things that'll get you fired. Either you've been through two different head coaches, and obviously he's on a second head coach right now after hiring Gus Bradley. He failed, and then they brought in Doug Marrone, and nobody knows with him right now. If Doug Marrone gets fired, will Dave Caldwell be able to get his chance to have a third head coach? I don't know. And another thing that'll get you fired is if you pick a quarterback and he fails. And obviously Blake Bortles has failed. And Blake Bortles they even gave a contract extension to, and he failed. And there's reports out there, I don't know how accurate the reports are, but there are reports out there that in the 2017 draft, Tom Coughlin loved Deshaun Watson. He loved Deshaun Watson, but Dave Caldwell convinced him out of that and convinced him that Blake Bortles is a good quarterback and convinced him to get a running back to help out, Blake Bortles in the run game. It looked good in 2017, but, looking back on it now, we need a quarterback. Blake Bortles is on his way out of Jacksonville, and it's tough. It's tough. So, it's tough to evaluate really what happened with what's going to happen with Dave Caldwell. I'd say, if you look at the brightest thing, the best thing that Dave Caldwell has done, it's the 2016 draft. In the first round, you get Jalen Ramsey, second round, Miles Jack, third round, Yannick Ngakoue. Those are three cornerstone pieces to our defense. Those are three really good, additions to the team. That's a really good draft. If you look at the bad part of Dave Caldwell, it's been that he doesn't know what to do with running backs. Every year he makes questionable decisions when it comes to running backs. In 2013, he really didn't do much for the running backs. He just kind of brought in Justin Forsett, whatever. But in 2014, he signs Toby Gerhart. Terrible signing. 2015, he drafts T.J. Yeldon in the second round. Now, T.J. Yeldon, he's been a nice player, but the kind of impact that he's made in the top of the second round, a top 5 pick in the second round, I don't know if that was the best decision. He seems more like a 4th, 5th round kind of guy, especially at running back where you can find guys pretty late on. In 2016, he signs Chris Ivory to a big contract. Chris Ivory was obviously cut, and he didn't make really hardly any impact in 2016. TJ Yeldon and Chris Ivory combined for 904 rushing yards in 2016. Not good. In 2017, you draft Leonard Fournette at number 4 overall. Now, Leonard Fournette is a nice player, of course, but, you look at some other guys, and I hate to play Captain Mr. Hindsight, but you look at some other guys that were drafted in that draft. You had Christian McCaffrey, James Conner, you had Alvin Kamara, you had Kareem Hunt, which whatever with Kareem Hunt, but you get the idea. You can find running backs pretty late, and, he passed up a quarterback to get Leonard Fournette, who's been battling injuries and doesn't seem all right between the ears when it comes to some of the stupid stuff that he's been doing. And in 2018, you decide to trade for a 5th round pick for Carlos Hyde, and Carlos Hyde has done nothing so far. Last game against the Titans, I think he was in there for 3 plays, and you make this trade when Fournette is 2 weeks away from coming back, and you trade a 5th round pick. So, every single year, from Toby Gerhart to T.J. Yeldon to Chris Ivory, to Leonard Fournette to Carlos Hyde, you're constantly missing on running backs, and that's a position, like I said, you can find late, and just every year it seems like they fail at that. So, with Dave Caldwell, it's going to be tough. And of course, in 2017, 2018, there's been some questionable things done. but how much of that was Tom Coughlin, how much of that is Dave Caldwell, nobody really knows. So that'll be interesting. It's another thing where it's like, could they fire Dave Caldwell and then all of a sudden Tom Coughlin takes complete control over the GM job, or will he bring in somebody to come in and help him evaluate? Dave Caldwell, he's the one that kind of sets up the meetings at the draft. He's the ones that brings people in for visits when it comes to like pre-draft visits and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see kind of what's done. And besides Tom Coughlin, I don't think anybody is safe. And just last season, all of these guys signed contract extensions with Doug Marrone, Tom Coughlin, and Dave Caldwell. And right now, man, we all know there's going to be major things done this offseason when it comes to both decisions with the coaching staff and decisions with trying to cut a bunch of players to free up some cap space, and just what to do with Dave Caldwell. So it'll be an interesting offseason. I'm all ready for it to be here just because, right now it's horrible to watch team. I mean, at least in 2015 when we were 5-11, when we weren't really that good, at least, we had Blake Bortles throw for 35 touchdowns. At least he had 2 1,000-yard receivers. At least there was something fun to watch. Right now, there's really nothing fun to watch. Our offense is abysmal. The defense doesn't seem to want to try. And it's tough. So, yeah. That's about all I got, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Who do you guys think we should fire? Who do you guys think we should keep? And please leave a like on the video if you guys can. Subscribe to the channel. And as you see at Jaguar, winjinjag.com, and I'm out.